Hello, today I'm going to show you a very nice game between former world champion Jose Raul Capablanca and Savielly Tartakower, who was a very strong player also. The game took place in 1924 at a very strong tournament in New York. But first I want to tell about both players. So, Capablanca, at that time was 36 years old. He was the world champion, the reigning world champion, as he won the championship in 1921 from Lasker. As a child, he was a chess prodigy, and if you want to remember something about it, then he's really widely known for his exceptional endgame skill and also speed of play and accuracy. There was a period of a few years that he didn't lose any game. Anyway, this game shows his mastery in the endgame phase, and this will be the main thing in the game that I'm going to show you. Tartakower was a year older than Capablanca. He was a Polish and French chess player. In 1950, he got the International Grandmaster title. And he was also an author of books, a chess journalist, and a very, very strong player in the first half of the 20th century. Okay, let's go to the game. White, Capablanca, opens with d4, and black answer e6. Knight f3, f5. This is a variation of a variation of the d4 game, not usually played, but still interesting. c4, nf6, bishop g5, bishop e7, knight c3, black castles, e3, b6, bishop d3, bishop b7, white castles, queen e8, queen e2. Till now, not a piece was exchanged. Both players' castles developed most of the pieces, and we are almost at the end of the opening phase. Till now, it's almost completely balanced. Tartakower answers knight e4, which is a means to exchange pieces. Of course, he's playing against the world champion. He's playing in black. He's interested to change pieces. So white changes the bishop, and the black takes the knight, threatening the queen. So this must be dealt. White takes the knight with the pawn. So isolated pawn on the a2, a double pawn on the C file, and black takes the bishop. a4, bishop takes f3, bishop takes knight, queen takes knight, and knight c6. Still, the position is balanced. Black has a better pawn structure than the white, and it's interesting to see what will happen here. So white begins to attack in the queen's flank. He could also play e4 if he wanted to open the center, but he decided to do it on the queen's side. Rook a to e8, queen h3, rook f6, beginning to move the pieces to the king's side, f4, knight a5, and queen f3. Why queen f3? Because black threatened to open the center with d5. This was probably the idea. So queen f3 and d6. Maybe a better move would be c5. So the knight can return. Maybe it would be a better move. Anyway, d6, rook e1, rook goes back to the center, queen d7. We don't want the queen to be on the same, it's not an immediate threat, but it could become a threat if the pawns would exchange. e4 to avoid d5, pawn takes, queen takes, threatening queen h7. g6, defending, and g3, protecting the pawn on f4. Queen f8, king f8, king g2, and rook f7. Black is very, very cautious. Maybe he could still try e5. h4, d5, c takes d5, e takes d5, queen takes the rook, queen takes the rook, the queen, rook takes the king, queen, and king takes the queen, the rook. So we reached the end game. Both sides have a rook and 6 pawns. Black has a knight and white has a bishop. Not easy to say who is better. All in all, black has 2 pawn islands and white has 3. One of them isolated pawn. But let's see who will be better. So white opens with h5. And the rook will be able to enter to the black king side via the h file. Rook f6, pawn takes, and rook h1. So white has an advantage on the king side. He has 2 pawns against 1 pawn, and the h file is open, and the rook is there. He has some advantage on the king side. On the other side, the queen side is weak, but white thinks that he has enough on the king side and doesn't have to worry about the queen side. So now black has to choose what to do. He can defend, and he does it with king f8. Maybe he could do something else. The problem with king f8 is that the rook comes to h7, and now the king will never be able to move from the 8th row. He could even go to h8, and after the king moves, go to d8. Let me show this. If I would go to h8 and the king would go to, let's say, g7, rook d7, rook d8, and black has problems to protect his pawn. Okay. Anyway, white chose to go to h7 and to lock the king to the 8th rank. Rook goes to c6 to defend the pawn, and white goes c4, g4. Knight goes to c4, and white continues to advance g5. Now black has an option to win a pawn. Black goes knight e3, king f3, knight f5. If knight d1, probably black could draw. Now this pawn can be taken, but black chose to do knight f5. And white has a brilliant idea how to finish the game. It's not intuitive, but it's amazing, really amazing. White just takes the knight, black takes the bishop, and now we are in a rook and pawn endgame. Each side has 5 pawns, but you immediately see that the c pawn cannot be protected. It will be lost. And white goes to g3 in order to move the king towards the f6 square, even that he will lose a pawn now. So rook takes the pawn, and king h4. Now black has a pawn more, but we'll see that the passed pawn on the G file is much stronger than anything else. Rook f3, g6. Rook takes f4, king g5. Now rook will not take the d pawn, but go to e. And white doesn't take the pawn, but goes to f6. This pawn will serve as a shield in the next phase of the game. Now king goes to g8 because rook h8 is mate, chessmate. So rook comes to g7, kings to h8, and rook takes c7 and again threatens mate with c8. Rook e8 prevents the mate, and king just takes the pawn. Now the material is equal, but you can see that white is much, much better. Rook goes to e4, king f6, rook f4 chess, king e5, rook g4, g7. Of course, you cannot change it. If you take the pawn with the rook, rook takes, king takes the pawn, and the white is much faster and will promote his pawn to a queen much faster than black can do. So black goes to g8 with the king, Rook takes a7, rook g1, king takes d5, rook c1 prevents the king to move here, king d6, rook c2, d5, rook c1, rook c7 want to exchange, rook a1, king c6, rook takes, and d6. In that position, Tartakower resigned. Nothing can be done now. One of the pawns will promote, and with a queen against the rook, there is no way to continue the game. So the management of the endgame is really impressive, and it's not so easy to understand how difficult it is to play in a way so precise as Capablanca demonstrates in this game. I hope that you enjoyed the game, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.